The courier knocked on my bridal suite door exactly 3 hours before I was supposed to walk down the aisle. He handed me a thick manila envelope. Inside was a cashier's check for $20,000 and a handwritten note on my mother's custom stationery. The ink was perfectly looped. It read, "Here is your wedding fund. Reinstated. Let Courtney walk as your maid of honor, or we will make sure no one attends. Do not let your stubborn pride ruin your financial future." I stared at that calculated bribe. My jaw tightened so hard, my teeth ached. I folded the heavy cardstock, slid the $20,000 check into my white silk clutch, and pulled out my phone. 2 swift taps, both of their numbers permanently blocked. I took a deep, steady breath, turned back to my makeup artist in the mirror, and told her we were running behind. The war had officially begun. To understand why that check was a weapon, you have to understand the family I come from. At Courtney's lavish country club wedding 2 years ago, I was not a bridesmaid. I was unpaid labor. The sky broke open that afternoon, unleashing a torrential downpour. While Courtney and my mother, Erica, sipped vintage champagne in the bridal suite, I was outside in the mud, holding a tarp over the hysterical florist. My heels sank into the grass. My dress was soaked to the knees. I coordinated the caterers, directed the valets, and managed the chaos because Erica told me it was my duty as the sister of the bride. The ultimate humiliation came during the reception. Courtney grabbed the microphone, her face flushed with expensive wine and absolute entitlement. She pointed directly at me in the back corner of the room, standing next to the overflow tables. She laughed into the mic, telling 200 guests to raise a glass to her spinster sister, who was destined to die alone with a rescue dog. The room erupted in laughter. Erica chuckled, leaning over to tell me to just take a joke. The air in the room grew so thin I could barely breathe. Something inside me snapped that night. Not a loud break, but a quiet, permanent fracture. They broke me then. But today, I hold the hammer. Meeting Trevor changed the entire trajectory of my life. Trevor is calm where I am anxious, steady where I used to fold. He was the first person to show me what unconditional love looked like, giving me the strength to permanently stop being the family punching bag. When Trevor and I started planning our own intimate estate wedding in the mountains of Asheville, North Carolina, the toxic entitlement flared up immediately. Courtney demanded to control the guest list. She sent unhinged texts daily, dictating which of her friends needed front row seats. Erica leveraged guilt, claiming I owed them a proper family event after everything they had done for me. The breaking point happened at a forced family dinner 4 months before the wedding. Courtney brought her usual passive-aggressive energy. Midway through the evening, she reached across the table and deliberately knocked a full glass of red wine all over Trevor's custom-tailored jacket. She gasped, feigning horror, and insisted on taking it to her specialty dry cleaners as an apology. She walked out the door with that jacket and conveniently never returned it. Every time I asked, she claimed the cleaners lost it. Instead of arguing, I applied the boundaries I use every single day in my career as a high school counselor. I stopped responding entirely. I went into the venue's security spreadsheet and quietly deleted Courtney and Erica from the gate clearance list. Erica retaliated immediately. She posted vague victim playing statuses on social media about daughters who abandoned their mothers. Courtney left voicemails calling Trevor a controlling manipulator. I saved every text, every voicemail, every post. I collected the receipts, cementing my absolute resolve. The morning of the wedding, just as I was preparing to walk down the aisle, the security coordinator radioed my bridal suite. Erica and Courtney were at the iron gates of the private estate, demanding entry. They were screaming at the guards, threatening to call the police and ruin the ceremony. I walked down the long gravel driveway in my wedding dress. The gravel crunched beneath my heels. The mountain air was crisp and completely still. Courtney was gripping the iron bars, her face twisted in rage. Erica was brandishing her designer purse like a weapon. I did not raise my voice. I utilized my sharpest, calmest counselor voice, the one I reserve for de-escalating out-of-control teenagers. This is not a high school cafeteria. Courtney, you have no power here. Erica stepped forward, her eyes darting to my clutch. Did you get the $20,000 check? She expected submission. She expected me to bow my head and open the gates. I looked her dead in the eyes. I did. Thank you for the generous gift. I turned my back and signaled the head of security, lock the gates permanently. Do not let them through under any circumstances. I walked away, leaving Erica and Courtney screaming in the dust. The ceremony was flawless. The vows were entirely ours. Trevor looked at me with total adoration. And for the first time in my 31 years, my shoulders did not feel heavy. We returned from our honeymoon in Hawaii completely refreshed, believing the war was over. But toxic people do not quietly accept defeat. When they lose control, they escalate. Courtney experienced a violent psychological break. She could not handle being excluded and publicly humiliated by the sister she viewed as inferior. She decided to weaponize the police against us. While Trevor and I were unpacking our suitcases in the living room, Courtney drove to our neighborhood. She parked a block away, crept onto our porch, and called 911. She reported a severe domestic violence hostage situation, hysterically claiming Trevor was armed and holding me captive. To establish probable cause, she took the custom tailored jacket she stole months ago, slashed it to ribbons with a kitchen knife, and threw it on our porch alongside a forged note screaming for help. Courtney thought she was a genius. She snipped the visible internet cable line running to the house, assuming it would kill the standard doorbell camera. But she missed the battery-powered cellular backup, high-definition security camera hidden inside the decorative planter next to the door. I installed that system specifically because I knew my sister's vindictive nature. Red and blue lights flooded our living room windows. Heavy fists pounded on the door. Police officers shouted commands, demanding we open up with our hands visible. When a SWAT-style police unit kicks your door open, panic gets you killed. Trevor acted with hyper-rational survival instinct. He immediately dropped to his knees in the entryway, hands raised high, remaining dead calm. He strictly followed the officer's orders, de-escalating the physical threat instantly. His complete submission bought me the crucial 5 seconds I needed. I grabbed my tablet, pulled up the pristine cloud footage, and stepped between my husband and the commanding officer. The screen showed Courtney creeping onto the porch, slashing the jacket, placing the note, and making the fake emergency call. The commanding officer stared at the screen. His expression shifted from high alert to absolute disgust. He ordered his men to stand down. They turned around. walked down the driveway, and found Courtney waiting by her car, pretending to be the concerned sister. The officers did not ask questions. They grabbed her arms, spun her around, and slapped cold steel handcuffs on her wrists. Courtney shrieked, her voice cracking in pure panic. Erica, who had just pulled up in her SUV to watch the drama unfold, screamed my name in horror. The police placed Courtney in the back of the squad car. I stood on my porch, holding Trevor's hand, watching the red and blue lights fade down the street. Courtney was arrested on site for felony filing of a false police report and misuse of an emergency system. Her pristine socialite reputation was instantly annihilated. Her mugshot became public record before the sun went down. Erica frantically tried to bail her out, burning through cash on defense attorneys, only to realize her money could not make state felony charges disappear. Meanwhile, I executed my final legally flawless move. I took the $20,000 cashier's check Erica sent me on my wedding day. I drove to my bank and deposited it into my personal account. I waited the mandatory 3 business days for the funds to clear completely. Once the money was securely in my balance, I logged online and made a direct $20,000 electronic donation to a prominent charity that supports survivors of domestic and family abuse. It is an organization Erica and Courtney have publicly mocked and campaigned against in the past. The brilliant part, I made the donation directly in Erica and Courtney Bennett's names. A week later, the charity mailed a glowing official tax-deductible certificate thanking them for their generous support of abuse survivors. It was sent to Erica's house via certified mail. I attached a single yellow sticky note to the outside of the envelope. Thanks for the donation. Trevor and I locked our doors that night. Perfectly safe. Legally protected by an airtight restraining order against my sister, and completely at peace. Months have passed since that day. The judge sentenced Courtney to 3 years of probation, mandatory psychiatric counseling, and 200 hours of community service. The court also ordered restitution of $5,000 for the police resources wasted that night. The fallout in their social circle was absolute. The country club board quietly asked Erica to step down from her committee chair positions. Their neighbors stopped waving. Their church friends suddenly found themselves too busy to attend Erica's luncheons. They lost the one thing they valued above all else: their reputation. Recently, a thick envelope arrived in my mailbox. The handwriting belonged to Erica. It was a 3-page letter, oscillating wildly between aggressive guilt trips and desperate pleas for reconciliation. She wrote that family is forever, that Courtney was just going through a hard time, and that I was destroying the family legacy over a misunderstanding. She reminded me that she carried me for 9 months. The manipulation dripped from every sentence. I did not get angry. I did not shed a tear. I read the letter standing by my kitchen island, calmly walked over to the paper shredder, and fed the pages into the machine. The hum of the blades turning her guilt trip into confetti was the most peaceful sound in the world. I never replied. I proved my freedom through absolute indifference. My life now is entirely unrecognizable from the chaos I left behind. Trevor and I spend our weekends hiking the Blue Ridge Mountains. We host dinner parties where the laughter is loud, authentic, and completely free of passive-aggressive venom. Our chosen family consists of friends, mentors, and colleagues who celebrate our victories instead of trying to sabotage them. When someone spills wine in my house now, we grab a towel and laugh about it. We do not plot revenge. The silence in our home is not tense or heavy. It is the deep, comforting quiet of a life built on mutual respect and genuine love. Looking back at the wreckage of my biological family, the psychology of what happened is crystal clear. People like Courtney and Erica do not actually love you. They love the convenience of your compliance. They love the version of you that stays quiet, takes the blame, and makes them feel superior. When you stop being a punching bag, they do not feel grief. They feel robbed. The $20,000 check was never an apology or a blessing. It was a leash. And Courtney's fake emergency call was not out of concern for my well-being. It was a desperate, violent attempt to destroy the peace she could no longer control. Through this entire ordeal, I have learned 3 absolute life rules. Rule number 1, the myth of the bloodline is the greatest lie we are taught to believe. DNA is a biological accident. It is not a lifetime contract for abuse. Loyalty must be earned through consistent respect, not demanded through historical guilt. If a stranger treated you the way your toxic family members do, you would call the police immediately. Do not lower your standards just because you share a last name. Rule number 2, the extinction burst is proof of your victory. When toxic people realize they have permanently lost control of you, they will try to control how others see you. They will spin narratives, play the victim, and even use the legal system to punish you. Let them. Their escalating madness is not a sign that you made a mistake. It is the ultimate proof that your boundaries are working. Stand your ground. Document everything, and let them destroy their own lives trying to reach you. Rule number 3, your peace is unpriceable. Never let someone buy their way out of accountability. Weaponized money is just a chain disguised as a gift. When they try to use finances to force your submission, take their leverage and turn it into their legacy. Give it away. Burn it. Destroy their power over you completely. I want you to take a hard look around your own dinner table. Think about the people you spend your holidays with. Are you sitting in that chair because you are deeply loved, respected, and valued? Or are you sitting there because you were terrified of the guilt trips, the rumors, and the rage they will unleash if you leave? If you are sitting there out of fear, it is time to stop eating the scraps they throw at you. It is time to walk away and build your own table. You deserve a life where love is a given, not a currency you have to earn through suffering. If this story resonated with you, share your own experiences in the comments below. Let us build a community of survivors who refuse to be silenced. Subscribe for more truths, and remember, walking away is not a weakness. It is the ultimate act of strength. I know exactly what you are screaming at the screen right now. You are sitting there thinking, why on earth did she put up with being treated like an unpaid servant for so long? And more importantly, why did she even take that $20,000 check in the first place? If it were me, I would have ripped it up right in their faces at the front gate. Before you judge her, we need to talk about the slot machine effect. In psychology, this is known as intermittent reinforcement. And it is the exact reason it is so incredibly hard to walk away from a toxic family. When you grow up in a manipulative household, they do not treat you terribly 100% of the time. Every once in a while, they drop a crumb of hope, a polite dinner, a fake compliment, or an invitation. Your brain treats it just like a casino slot machine. You keep pulling the lever, enduring the abuse, hoping that this time you will finally hit the jackpot of genuine love. Vanessa was not stupid or weak. She was literally addicted to those crumbs of hope. Walking away from the table takes immense psychological strength. But once she woke up, her execution was a masterclass in financial self-defense and street-smart retaliation. Let us break down her strategy. First, we have building the case. Toxic people thrive in the shadows of emotional chaos. And she said arguments. Notice how Vanessa did not argue or scream back when the harassment started. She went completely silent and collected the voicemails, the social media posts, and eventually the slash jacket and the hidden camera footage. She built an airtight file. When the police arrived with guns drawn, she did not match her sister's hysteria. She presented cold, hard, undeniable digital proof. Second, there is the audit strategy. When someone uses money as a weapon, like a $20,000 bribe on your wedding day, tearing it up feels good for about 5 seconds, but it leaves you with nothing and gives the abuser the high ground. Scammers and manipulators hate when you get technical. By accepting the check without letting it buy her compliance, she stripped the money of its emotional power and treated it as a simple transaction. Finally, the buyout. This was her most brilliant move. She deposited the money, waited the mandatory 3 business days to ensure the funds fully cleared, and then donated it to a charity her family hated. By making that donation in her mother and sister's names, she essentially bought her permanent freedom using their own funds. She legally weaponized the tax code to deliver the ultimate receipt. The envelope from Erica arrived 3 months after the sentencing. I knew her handwriting before I even turned it over. Perfect loops, perfect pressure, perfect little performance of motherhood, even on paper. For years, that handwriting had made my stomach tighten because it usually meant a demand was coming. Money, obedience, an apology I did not owe, a reminder that Courtney's feelings mattered more than my entire life. This time, I felt nothing. I stood at the kitchen island while Trevor made coffee behind me. The house was quiet, warm, and filled with the kind of peace I used to think only other people were allowed to have. I opened the letter, not because I wanted reconciliation, but because I wanted to confirm that the woman who raised me had not changed. She had not. 3 pages of guilt, 3 pages of family is forever, 3 pages explaining that Courtney had been under stress, that I had embarrassed her, that the police incident had been blown out of proportion. Erica wrote that I had always been too sensitive, that I should remember who paid for my childhood, that a daughter should never turn her back on her mother. Not once did she say she was sorry. Not once did she mention the stolen jacket, the fake emergency call, the officers shouting in my living room, or the fact that my husband had to drop to his knees in his own home because my sister wanted revenge. I folded the letter carefully, walked to the shredder, and fed it into the blades. The sound was small, but it felt like thunder. That was the moment I understood closure. It was not an apology. It was not them finally admitting the truth. It was not Courtney crying in court or Erica losing her country club friends. Closure was me standing in my own kitchen, safe, loved, and completely uninterested in being pulled back into their chaos. Trevor came over, placed a mug beside me, and asked if I was okay. I looked around our home, at the wedding photo on the wall, at the hiking boots by the door, at the stack of thank you cards from the abuse survivor charity we donated to in Erica and Courtney's names. Then I smiled. I'm better than okay. I said, I'm free, and I meant it. Because freedom is not always loud. Sometimes freedom is a blocked number, a locked gate, a restraining order, a check deposited cleared and turned into something your abusers can never control. Sometimes freedom is realizing that the people who called you selfish were only angry because you stopped being useful. Courtney wanted my wedding to become another stage for her humiliation. Erica wanted her money to become a leash around my neck. But they both misunderstood the woman they had spent years underestimating. I was not the scared sister standing in the rain at Courtney's wedding anymore. I was not the unpaid labor. I was not the punchline. I was the bride who locked the gate. I was the wife who protected her home. I was the daughter who took the bribe, stripped it of power, and turned it into a donation that would help people escaping families just like mine. That is the part toxic people hate most. They can survive your anger. They can twist your tears. They can turn your screaming into proof that you are unstable. But they cannot survive your calm. They cannot survive your documentation. They cannot survive the moment you stop asking for love and start protecting your life. So if you are listening to this and someone in your family keeps using money, guilt, or public shame to control you, hear me clearly. A gift with conditions is not a gift. It is a contract you never signed. An apology without accountability is not healing. It is bait. And family without respect is just history with teeth. You are allowed to lock the gate. You are allowed to keep the money and reject the leash. You are allowed to build a peaceful life that the people who hurt you are never invited to enter. Trevor and I still hike the Blue Ridge trails on weekends. We still host dinners with people who laugh without cruelty and love without keeping score. When wine spills now, nobody flinches. Nobody weaponizes it. Someone grabs a towel. Someone makes a joke, and life goes on. That is what real love feels like. Not fear, not performance, not a debt. Peace. So tell me in the comments, have you ever had to turn someone's manipulation into your freedom? Have you ever locked the gate and chosen yourself? Share this with someone who needs to remember that walking away is not weakness. Sometimes walking away is the first honest vow you make to yourself. Here is the verdict. Your peace of mind is your most valuable asset, and it is entirely unpriceable. Toxic people will always try to use money, guilt, or public embarrassment to keep you in emotional debt. Do not let them keep your receipts. Stay quiet and invest heavily in your own freedom. If you have ever had to financially or emotionally cut ties with someone toxic, I want to hear how you did it. Share your survival stories in the comments below. And do not forget to subscribe for more street smart strategies to protect your peace, your money, and your life.